Hello, folks. This is Matt Harris with Harris Digital. I wanted to talk to you today about digital transformation and specifically, an anecdote and then a little piece of information that I think has been going around in our industry for a while. And that's the 65% of ERP upgrades or replatforming fail. And there's some studies that say it's as much as 70%. But anyway, it's a they're really hard projects and they fail often. And so this is an anecdote that might get some insight into it. And I won't mention any names, but I spent a long time working with a client to map out upgrading their entire business operations to a new system, a new ERP system. But it was going to touch multiple departments and multiple locations. And they had a very complex business that was very unique to them. They did construction. They did construction on things. Let's just say it was buildings. And then they had to store parts. And then part of it was they were selling finished products, like a finished house, let's say. And the other was doing repairs. So the repairs was a service. So they had multiple locations. So you had different workflows, different departments, and different locations. And they were on a bunch of old systems, and they wanted to try to unify all of this into a single system. And let's just say, for the sake of argument, they're a $50 million business, okay? Multiple people, dozens of employees, multiple locations, lots of complexity. So I worked with a younger generation, the son of the owner, let's just say. And I explained to him that this process is very complicated and that the process can actually often fail. And the reason it fails, they fail for a lot of reasons, but the reason often is in the planning phase. They don't plan it out right. And the business that's purchasing this service and this new system doesn't put the resources required on their side. And then they try to do too much at once. It's usually a combination of those three things. And there's some other factors that come into play. So I was telling him this and saying, listen, the best way to do this is to build a scope and do a paid discovery. So you pay us, we come in, we try to learn as much as we can. And then we give you a plan or kind of a roadmap, and then we do it in an agile methodology, and we try to do it by department or by group or by process. So you come in and you do an assessment of all the software they're using, and then you start to basically do one piece at a time. And each time you remove a piece of software or a process, you have to train people on a new way of doing it. So doing everything at once is just crazy. If you think you have like 5 or 6 different departments in different locations and everything is kind of siloed in these separate pieces of software and processes and like internal knowledge, it's really hard to do it all at once. So I was explaining this to him. He understood what I was saying. We finally get on a sales call with his father, who owns the business. And I'd never talked to him before. I'd only been working with the son. I explained the agile methodology. I explained the paid discovery, and I explained the complexity. And I said, for these reasons, I can only give you a ballpark of what this might cost, but we'll know more once you pay for the discovery, and then we can make essentially a plan to do this work. And it's going to be collaborative. We'll be working with you. This is not something we're doing for you. This is something we're doing with you, and it's something we're going to do together. And that's why we don't know exactly how long it's going to take or what it's going to cost. That's why we do the discovery, and that's why we do the agile process, which is one thing at a time, and you pay as you go. When all of that was done, the father, who had never met and was only on this, was looking at another competitor of ours giving a fixed bid. And he said to me, after I gave my presentation, he said, Matt, if someone comes to my business and asks me how much it's going to cost to build a building, I can tell them exactly how much it's going to cost. And that just really, really irked me. And I'm still a little annoyed by this response. Of course, this is the father. He's older, no offense, but kind of boomer generation. And if you had to take what we're trying to do with this updating this process to make their business, more efficient versus building a building, so first of all, it's completely different types of work. Almost like 180 degrees of difference between building a building and doing a digital transformation project where you're replatforming an entire company and all their processes onto a new system. That's like night and day, completely two different businesses. But the other thing is, if you want to put it in the business analogy, we don't have a blueprint. Yeah, sure, you can tell me how much a building's going to cost, but do you know how many rooms there are? What's the square footage? How many windows? What are the like? You have all of that in front of you. All of that data and that information is precise. And so, yeah, if I had all that information, I could tell you how much it's going to cost. But in one of these digital transformation projects, you're talking about people, processes, data, and software in that order. And a lot of times these old companies think, I'm paying for the software. You're not. You're replacing and updating the way people work. You're updating the way they do their process. You're looking at their readiness with their data, which is really hard to determine at first pass. You've got to dig in and learn it. And then finally, you're adding software. And it's basically in that order: priority 1, priority 2, priority 3, priority 4. All of that is kind of messy, and it's not really clear. So like if you're working with people and you're training them on their new stuff, how long is it going to take? Well, it depends on the person. It depends on the process. And the same thing with the process and same thing with the data. There's massive amounts of unknowns. So if you're a business that's thinking about doing this, and a lot of times you don't have a choice, you have to do it. Your business is working on old software. You need to update your processes. AI is going to change everything. If you don't have your data organized and your systems up to date, you won't be able to leverage AI. So a lot of businesses have to do this. But if you go through this process, I beg you, please, please, please do it slowly. Invest in a paid discovery. Invest in a partner that has done this work before and can help you. And think about people, process, data, software in that order. And then go through the project in an agile way. And what that means is you come up with a sketch of what you're trying to do. You look at an area where you can do something small and get that checked off the list. So let's say, okay, we're going to replace the shipping software or the taxation software or something like that. Or there's a flow that the sales department's using. We're going to replace that one first. So go through big picture and invest in doing small projects as much as you can in order and learn from every one of those, and then adjust your roadmap and your blueprint as you go and go through department until you're through replacing all of that old software, right? Then you're not done. The new businesses are going to look like organisms. They're digital organisms. They need to evolve and get better and smarter. So, unfortunately, or fortunately, you're probably going to have to continue to invest in making these systems better and smarter, but you're going to reap huge rewards and massive benefits. And if you're not doing this and you're a mid-market business, your competition will be, and they're going to probably eat your lunch, because this is the way smart businesses are going to be functioning in the future. We all know AI is going to be instrumental in how you make businesses smarter and faster and more efficient. So you need to get your data game in place. Got to get these systems organized so that you can leverage AI. But anyway, just to summarize, it's not building a house. It's not a mechanical thing. It's not a fixed scope. It's messy. It's complicated. There's a lot of moving parts, but it's totally worth doing it. And the only way to mitigate the risk is to go slow and pay for the planning. The planning is required. It's like trying to build a house without a blueprint. You have to have the planning process, and that has to be continual. And that's the way you succeed. If you want to be an outlier that's part of that 35% where these ERP implementations or these system upgrades go well and you get value out of it, that's the key. The key is to get stakeholders on your side that are invested in this. It's mandatory that they work on part of this project, and then you work to collaboratively with a partner to plan it out. So it's Matt Harris again with Harris Digital. Thanks for listening. I hope this was helpful, and I'll be coming out with more of these tips in the future. So watch, follow. I will see you online. Thanks.